2, 1, recording.
Awesome. Great. Well, obviously, Yalda, you and I haven't met before. So just a quick little bit of background. I am new to this Ethereum crypto space. I've dabbled a little bit in the writing arts, but really I have an interest in stories and writing and humans. And so he tapped me to help out with this project. And ultimately the desire is to be able to share stories of really awesome humans like yourself who are doing kick-ass work and have interesting backgrounds. And so my hope is to be able to get to kind of the heart of your story, straying like a little bit away from the technical side and more leaning into the kind of hopes, inspirations, motivations, all of the juicy stuff behind the work that you're doing. So that's the intention. Feel free to stray from the questions or share anecdotes. All is welcome. And yeah, we can just dive right in if that sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Cool. Great. So perhaps we can start at the beginning and you can tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the spaces that you're working in right now and yeah, where that journey started for you.
How I got involved in the spaces I'm working on right now. Let's see. Like the space is one of the spaces I'm working on.
Like actual space?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I can start with that story. And that starts in I don't even know, like in the 2010s or something like that, early 2010s. I'm writing poetry about space exploration and also like how we can no, actually I figured out the origin story. Okay. It roots back actually to around 2000. Let's just say it just starts in Silicon Valley or the Bay Area. I used to DJ whenever I was in my last year at college at Berkeley. I was studying mechanical engineering and I was DJing Glam Rock. So it wasn't like I was beat matching. It was, I guess maybe it was more like collecting a lot of records and playing different, like curating songs. So I was really into glam rock. And glam rock is a very interesting genre because it's actually like very much in like a space. It's like a genre that has a lot of like space influence. If you think of like David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. I was, DJing a lot of Bowie. So a lot of this like music was getting into my head. Maybe it was programming my future destiny that I did not know, when I was studying mechanical engineering, which is a very good thing to study if you want to basically get into aerospace. It's like the discipline you study. But I did not actually know then that my path was to be a part of like this more aerospace future. But the media I was consuming, it was very much programming my mind into space, whether it was watching, sci-fi films like 2001: A Space Odyssey or, books by Philip K. Dick. And yeah, music. So all the media I was consuming and that I was attracted to was like deeply drawing me towards outer space. So I started, also just like writing poetry and making music and experimenting with that as well. But like in parallel, I guess it's like, well, what was I working on? What was I dreaming of? So it was like around 2008, 2009. Silicon Valley. It's like early days of the iPhone. I was working at like a small startup in Menlo Park. Actually, the place I'm staying now, it's like my boss from back then who got me into product management. That's like my actual connection, my full circle of, well, where are you now in Ibiza? But I was thinking a lot about social networks back then and like, well, why like why aren't we doing more to kind of create an actual social network where we're collaborating on art and technology, and it's more like cooperative and not like Facebook or whatever you know, technology companies that were coming out then. I was talking to a lot of friends about these ideas, and whenever I was talking to my friends about like, well, why aren't we like, why isn't like the internet just solving like utopia? Like, what the fuck? My friend was like, you should read this book called From Counterculture to Cyberculture, the Rise of the Whole Earth Network and Digital Utopia, or something like that, by Fred Turner, who's a professor at Stanford. So I read that book, and just reading about like the counterculture and the creation of the internet, and how like I read this book and it made me even like more excited for what is possible, for what can happen with technology, and what can happen when you bring people together from all sorts of like disciplines, from the arts, from tech, from you know, the metaphysics level of things. So that book started to basically set this other path for me. So it's like there's like this space path, and then there's this path of like you like building tools and networks to connect people to collaborate. And they're kind of like in the back of my mind, and I wasn't fully taking action on these different ideas that were coming up. But fast forward, you know, I was working as a senior product manager for a long time for all sorts of different companies, and in 2016 is when I started to actually just like make a shift and listen to, I would say, like my dreams. And the dream that I was starting to have in 2016 was basically working in aerospace, you know. So I was tapping into that space part of me, not yet the collaboration tools part of me, but first the space part. So I was taking courses in astronautical engineering while I was a senior product manager at Oracle. And eventually, like about 6 months into taking these night classes, I decided to quit my job at Oracle. And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to graduate school. I'm gonna study space systems engineering. Maybe I'll get a job at SpaceX, you know, ooh, that's my dream. And and then that started to change basically after attending a conference that same year in Guadalajara, Mexico, at the International Astronautical Congress. And just going to that conference and like just like being fully tapped into like the space industry and like the futurism of like these minds that are in the space industry, and thinking of the future, and like thinking like it's a highly like utopian community in ways, because people are like thinking cross-border for a lot of these things. So I just got so pulled into this community, and started to just think, okay, well, there's an idea, or I'm like, what? Well, there are all these people, we have all these ideas are so expensive, and our governments aren't funding them. So maybe we should create a social network where we can pool our ideas together and start to strategize and crowdfund the really good ideas, because the budget for these space missions and space projects, there's just not enough funding for it. If you think of space agency budgets, it's like maybe there's enough budget for like from the defense industry, like all like the defense related things, but like who wants a future in space where it's all about like war, weapons, and military bases? So like if we're actually gonna have like more like sovereign places in space that are like transnational, we need to do something more collective, more bottoms up. So instead of the path of going to graduate school, I was like, I figured out like what my contribution needs to be. It needs to be basically taking my 8 years of experience then in product management and user experience design, to start to design and model how this network will work. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to design software. I'm going to do what I've been doing, but I'm going to take this knowledge that I'm accumulating from aerospace and from these classes to try to just like figure out how we can, you know, do this right. So that is, that led towards basically the creation of a worker cooperative called Space Cooperative. And how this later connects to Ethereum is basically, we were designing the system. We were like, oh, we need it to be, like, we don't want to own it. We don't want to govern it. Like, it needs to be like, led by the community. And then I read this article by a futurist called Giulio Prisco, where he presented SpaceDecentral, a decentralized autonomous space agency. And whenever I first read the article, I was like, is this a competitor? Like, this is like the same idea. Like, what the hell, and then I just wasn't sure like how to handle it first or what to do about it. And then I was talking to a friend of mine, that works at Kraken, and I was like, he was like, you need to do a space token. I was like, oh really? Like, because I read this article like called SpaceDecentral. I'm like, should we just merge with that maybe? He was like, yeah, do that. I was like, okay. So that led towards just like really understanding like decentralized autonomous organizations and DAOs, and that was basically early 2017. And the more I learned about DAOs, the more it was like, okay, well, like a DAO is like, it's like some smart contracts that you can use to improve your operations at a more like lower primitive level. But it's like still, it's not gonna solve everything. But perhaps there are ways where we can really design the improve things, and we can learn from like cooperatives for how we would design the DAO for the space project. So we had already, we're learning about cooperatives a lot because we started one ourselves called Space Cooperative, which was the precursor entity or project towards this DAO. So a lot of the initial like organization design of SpaceDecentral was very much inspired by just fully understanding how cooperatives work. Since we had to write our bylaws for our cooperative, we have to really understand the corporate law of cooperatives and how we make decisions. So that's how basically that space, cooperative led towards being the initial entity or company that is, designing SpaceDecentral. And now it's actually starting to transform into something beyond something that Space Cooperative works on right now at this point in time. It's like, it's been a long process, but it's finally like coming to life, I think, soon.
And it's called SpaceDecentral now?
No, there's a new name that it's a secret.
Okay, cool.
Stealth mode right now.
Literally on the edge of my seat. Yeah, I'm curious to know what that leap was like for you, going from 8 years as a product manager with a dream to go to graduate school, and then like shifting into what seems like kind of like completely unknown territory of starting a cooperative and learning about DAOs. Like what was it exciting? Was it nerve-wracking? What was like the emotion behind that?
Well, actually, the dream of going to graduate school, it's like ever since basically December 2015 is when I started operating in a different way when it comes to my dreams in life. Because the graduate thing was more of like maybe it was something that at that moment in time, or maybe for a few years, actually, it was brewing in me that I need to advance my knowledge. I want to actually, I think the reason I wanted to do it is because I actually do wish I had more time for learning in general. Like if we are successful in creating a utopia, I think that it's basically like an environment where people can openly learn and advance their knowledge. So I'm like, oh, if I ever have like, if these projects are finally like operating in a decentralized way and it's like harmonious and it's not dependent on my leadership, then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be learning as much as I can. I want to learn as much as I can about physics, about aerospace, about artificial intelligence. I just want to have as much time to learn and consume as much knowledge and like advance my understanding of the universe. But that's my reward basically, is like because like right now I know that it's like I have already learned a lot about this specific path and setting up these projects, and I have to like put them into motion before I can really budget the additional time for like learning the next thing I need to learn. But I realize that I don't know if I need to do it through graduate school. But right now, actually, like I start to like wonder if that is the path. Like if I need to be like leading a department at a university somewhere, it's like I could see that actually in my potential future in like 20 years or something. I just don't know fully like if that's going to be the best way to like advance on the different things that I think need to be advanced in the world or not. But yeah, so I just like the way that I shift things around now is basically it's just like reordering. It's just kind of like doing a product roadmap. It's like sometimes things change and you just have to be like, nope, sorry, this path is stopped. It's pausing now. This other thing is starting. And I just like, you know, being an entrepreneur, being not dependent on like one person saying you have your full-time obligation to do this thing, it allows me to operate in this very like free way, which I think everyone in the world should basically have. And that's what like with like these like systems with DAOs, I think we can get to that level in the world soon.
I wonder, is there any like intuitive guidance or like gut sense to these things, these decisions that you make?
Yeah, I guess it's a lot of like gut and like processing like signals in the world, whether it's like, oh, there's or just like some like weird shit. I mean, I think maybe like the weird thing, if you want to like hear the full story of the thing that clicked in my mind as far as whenever I was at the space conference, like what was the event that happened that flipped the switch that was like don't do graduate school, start a company. And it's like this really silly story, but like Elon Musk, he had like a slide of like how you would fund Mars, and one of them was like Kickstarter or something. And I saw that and I was like, yep, he's probably joking, but fuck, whatever. Like it's totally true. So I was like, crowdfunding Mars, yeah, that is the only way. Otherwise, it's just going to be owned by the government. So that just fucking flipped a switch right then. So sometimes it's like a weird fucking sign. Like it might be like a joke that you're just like, yeah, that fucking just flipped the switch right there, you know? So sometimes you just like, it's like a very like gut thing where it's not rational. It's like, yeah, there was a fucking bullet point in a deck and my whole life changed. Like
props to Elon for throwing out crazy ideas as he always does.
Yeah, and to you for listening. It's like it's one thing to have that like I'm sure we've all at one time or another had that like light bulb moment, but actually acting on it and shifting your entire life and career path is like a whole other risk and yeah, brave action to take.
And that's but, my path right now, where I'm like creating a second home in another place and in Europe. I'm like, yep. Might not make sense to a lot of people, but this feels right. It's beautiful, the weather's nice, and it's chill, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like you are someone who kind of follows intuitive pulses. Yeah. That's awesome. How about like the people, like when you were making the shift into creating a space cooperative, were you like, how did you collect the people to be a part of that? Was there any like mentorship? Like who was involved in that process?
That's a good question. Yeah, so the first people that I met that were a part of Space Cooperative, I met at a hackathon in LA. It was like March of 2016. So I was taking these classes at that point, but there was also a NASA Space Apps hackathon. So we had like a project. Our hackathon project was like designing an interface so you can optimize an asteroid mining mission or something. So there was a Kevin Siegler, who's a part of Raid Guild, who was at that hackathon, one of the founders of Space Cooperative. Braden DeVito, who was part of Space Cooperative, but they're like basically like the way Space Cooperative works is not all of the early people are still a part of it now. There have been like a lot of different shifts because we're like basically like a volunteer organization for a while. Or I mean, it's still kind of like, even though it's a cooperative, it's supposed to be a for-profit, it's supposed to be generating revenue. It's a long story since there's this whole token thing, and we were planning one. So yeah, there was Braden, and then Rana that I met at the hackathon, and she actually ended up being in some of the classes I was taking too. And then yeah, so the other people were basically from the classes. So there was the hackathon people, and then there were the people in the classes, and then our like lead developer for like the early like social network we were creating that wasn't blockchain based. I actually met him on Craigslist because we posted a looking for developer for this like space project, and we just met him on Craigslist. And yeah.
Is that like a Bay Area hack? Like all the really good developers actually hang out on Craigslist, not LinkedIn?
It's complicated to post volunteer things on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was very easy to create a Craigslist page.
That's unbelievable.
I mean,
Yeah.
these synchronicities.
What was that?
This was your lead developer?
Yeah, that was our lead developer of our non-blockchain platform. And then like there was basically kind of like a moment in the late Space Cooperative's future where there was like a political thing about some people that were pro blockchain and others that weren't, and then like just like people being busy, or there being frustration that they're like we didn't like have our fundraising fully figured out, just kind of like working through like the whole like ICO like boom and bust, and so it went through like some rocky times, and yeah, but it was very, very interesting experience. But yeah, like Kevin, he was actually like just like learning software development at that time, because he was more of like an aerospace engineer starting to get into software development. So he wasn't our lead developer because he didn't fully have that skill then. But I think it's amazing now that he he got pulled into this blockchain vortex, and now he's a blockchain developer. So
Yeah, Kevin's a whiz. I've been calling him a senior dev since I met him. I'm always like, yeah, you should meet Kevin. He's one of our senior devs.
Yes.
And an awesome human. Yeah, a great guy
Yeah,
to work with.
he's amazing.
I'm curious about what your experience was like when you started learning about DAOs and blockchain and Ethereum. Like, what was your process of entering into this new like language and way of interacting with, with crypto technology stuffs? What was that like for you?
It's a very, very broad question. What was it like? Let's see. I don't know. I mean, can you ask more specific? What do you mean? What was it like?
Yeah, totally. So like, did you find it was really easy to kind of slide in that community and understand what was going on and how it could inform the work that you were doing? Did you find it was like really difficult? Like, because you said you've done like user experience design stuff. Like, did you find that was a barrier to entry? Was it easeful? Just kind of like initial feelings around entering into this community and trying to find a way to collaborate with the people.
I guess I felt like it was pretty easy for me, just because I can like look at a Solidity smart contract and scan through it and generally like understand the system or understand what's going on, because I guess my background as far as what I studied in university was mechanical engineering, and there's always been a part of me that actually wanted to study computer science and go down that path. And actually that's why it was actually random that I studied mechanical engineering. It's because I was applying for university, and I applied for computer science. And I wasn't like that proactive, I guess, during my college application process, where I only applied to the UC schools in California. And then I got into Berkeley, and I really wanted to go to Berkeley, but they were like, you can't study computer science here because you're not like good enough, but you could study an engineering discipline. So I was like, mechanical engineering, because Berkeley, as opposed to going to Irvine and studying computer science, which was like, I could have done that in my path, but I don't know who I would have been. That would have been a completely different person. So I like my Berkeley mechanical engineering path. So yeah, like so that's why it's like I've always done like some like light coding here or there, so I can like, so I was understanding smart contracts as a way to, okay, there's organization, bylaws, dynamics. I went through this whole process with co-writing the bylaws of Space Cooperative. Then I'm starting to learn about DAOs and smart contracts and how this can like track. This can help track labor and governance and all these things. So a lot of it like clicked, and I was analyzing different tools and technologies out there. So yeah, I would say for me, it wasn't that hard. I was definitely like sometimes reading things and it's like, oh, okay, like really, is this going to solve all the world's problems? I don't know, like just like skeptical on some of the claims, but otherwise, like, yeah, I found it like exciting to just like learn and fully grasp and become as much of an expert as I can of the field.
Cool. Yeah, and do you feel like you have certain values that align with the Ethereum community? Like I know before you'd mentioned like you want to be able to like pivot into what kind of work you want to be able to do at any time. So what about the Ethereum community kind of drew you in or you felt was like matched to your own values?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Ethereum community definitely, I felt like it was one of the most values-driven blockchain communities, which is why I am, I guess, a part of it now, and I haven't been pulled away by another blockchain yet, as much as they taunt you with their money. But I also believe in blockchain, more like blockchain agnostic futures. But I think that Ethereum, like even in like a blockchain agnostic future, Ethereum will probably be a very central component to it. If you think of basically all these like bridges and side chains and that sort of thing. So I think that the future is more blockchain agnostic, but Ethereum does have like quite a stronghold in it now. And yeah, I think that it's a very unique community because there are and probably because of the whole like DAO ecosystem, and DAOs bring in a very specific, like a lot of people I've found that are interested in DAOs are actually interested in cooperative economics, more collective decision making, like distributing power, distributing voting. So since this is like a very like large part of the Ethereum community and the ethos, I'm obviously like very aligned with it. And DAOs is basically what pulled me into the community, because it was like, okay, yeah, maybe I bought some ether and stuff before I started having to like get like, it's not like DAOs were what opened me up to Ethereum. Like I think whenever I was like still taking those astronautical engineering classes and not really knowing anything about how DAOs would fit in my life, I had bought some ether, and that actually helped sustain me being able to work on the space projects the following year. But DAOs is what brought me into the Ethereum space from a application perspective, and from how can I actually use this for use this technology for these different ideas that are coming up.
Cool. And what other DAOs are you a part of right now?
I would say maybe Moloch DAO is the most well-known one that I'm a part of right now. And then there are a few in the making that are secret.
All the secrecy. I'm like,
So like stealth. So
yeah, stealth.
That's awesome. And what so I've heard kind of like how you got here, and now that you're here, like what feels most exciting about the work you're involved with right now? Yeah, what has like the most energy behind it?
I guess what feels most exciting is it finally feels like we're at a stage where a lot of just like more DAOs are going to come to life, and like like and being able to actually uh like operate with these new system designs. Like I think that it's finally like at least like that's where I feel like I'm at that stage where it's like, oh shit, like there have been all these ideas for how all these things can work, but now it's time to do the like experiments and to figure out how we, you know, enhance these different DAOs and make them even better, make them even more thriving. So yeah, one of the projects that I'm excited about actually has to do with Moloch DAO and making it a more thriving DAO. Because it's like a little like stagnant in ways as a DAO, and like and I'm just like thinking of like complementary like frameworks and systems to like the Moloch framework for how you would have more of like an operational community, not even like with built like using new tools or anything. It's really just like processes and multisigs is just like the first step is just like processes and multisigs. So I'm very excited to try to test out these like new experiments.
I think it's also important to clarify for people who are listening who may not understand, like Moloch DAO is not just a DAO, it's also a framework for DAOs. So you can like create your own Moloch DAO, which is what Raid Guild is, the DAO that I'm a part of, and many other DAOs. And there's all kinds of ecosystem tools being built around Moloch DAO, like different front ends, different tools, different things, all kinds of different things. And that's some of what Yalda is leading and being involved with, which is exciting, because Moloch DAO was never a company. It was always just a project that was spun up for the good of Ethereum users, basically.
Yes.
Oh, and multisigs are multi-signature Ethereum wallets.
I was about to ask, so thank you.
Sorry, I should
like,
remember that
it's totally fair. We move into that like super abbreviated terminology land, and it's easy to lose sight of like, oh, you don't know what that means. Most people don't know what that means. Yeah.
Well, yes, thank you for clarifying. And yeah, next question would be like, what motivates you? Just period. What motivates you?
What motivates me is the possibility of a world that is more collaborative and cooperative, and where people are happy and they don't have to worry about like getting their basic needs met. I think that world is possible, and what motivates me is, you know, being a part of the process of, you know, the generation that can help create that world.
Yeah, that's a big and beautiful dream. Is that something that you've always held like throughout your studies, is like kind of a budding desire to see in the world? Like, how did that? Yeah, not everyone has such a big, beautiful.
I guess it didn't come to me until later, just kind of having a lot of people in my life, whether it's friends or family, that struggle because of money. You know, I guess like I feel like compared to like a lot of people, like I feel like I have like a pretty like more poor family. And yeah, I guess sometimes I just feel like I have a lot of friends that are artists and financially struggling, and I don't understand why like you can't just do your art and create and offer that to the world and be able to like live and sustain and be happy. So I think it's just like maybe I'm like an empath, where it's like over the years I feel like I've like taken up a lot of like what I've witnessed as just like the struggle that people are going through, and like going through different like financial struggles myself, where I'm just like, why like there must be a better way. It's like there are enough resources, like that it's just like really a game of reordering some things. So I think that it's a interesting like challenge and interesting way to like, you know, work your mind too. So
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate that you mentioned the artists of the world who, yeah, have a difficulty making it, if you will. And this is pulling me back to our very first story we got from you about DJing and being in the glam rock genre and writing poetry about space, like building all of this beautiful inspiration for the work that you do now. Are you still kind of in creative relationship with yourself, or is that transformed into something different now?
Yeah, I guess that I feel like I have an artist part of me that I don't actually allow enough time to like flourish. So that's something where uh, like I think that a lot of us do, and we just don't give the time or space to do that. And I think it's healthy for us and for everyone to like tap into your inner artist, your inner creative self. So that is something where every once in a while, if I kind of have some inspiration, I create something. Like if you go to my Twitter now, like there's like a song pin there that I made a few months ago. It was just like I made it like in a few hours, like even like the video and song, I just like did it all like in half a day or something like that. So yeah, I still try to kind of give myself the time to create, because I think ultimately, like about like what if I think that we need like a movement, like more of a movement to tap in or accelerate to the next level. So I think that at a certain point in time, like music and media is going to be important to like just like unlock the next path. So I just see it as like, okay, as a medium, it's like a way to connect with people and to communicate like a vision or a mission, and like using as many dimensions as possible. So I want to like one day have a group that's also creating like a sci-fi series or something, like a sci-fi universe. So I think that that's kind of connected to also the future of Space Decentral. So
Yeah, well, it's interesting. There's something like I feel like there's a connection between like creativity and like dreaming a dream forward. And you can see that even like as you were like really attracted to media that had to do with space and exploration, like before you were even remotely involved in that area. So it's kind of cool how like that was already coming through you in a creative way. And I'd love to hear just you nerd out a little bit about what excites you specifically about space, since that seems to be kind of a core theme throughout all of this. I'm just like, unload on us. Like, what is it about space that excites you?
yeah, I mean, so there are some things about space that excite me, and there are other things about space that frighten me. And it's actually like this like dualism of it that makes it this like supercharged thing, which is how a lot of things work. But I guess like what excites me is the unknown and experiencing new things and learning new things, like just about like our origins. And if like, I mean, I believe that there are other intelligent species besides us. So just like the possibility of being able to like communicate with other species, and like the thoughts of like how that will like change Earth and our understanding of the universe and ourselves. So it's like those answers excite me, you know, searching for those answers. But also just like if you think of like just travel and adventure of like, oh, you're like on the moon and you're moving with like different gravity and like how that feels, you know. So like sometimes just like thinking and imagining like being in space and like the different things that you feel like in your body and like the potential to experience those. In my mind, I'm like, this can't just be like a luxury thing that only if you have like the right money you can experience it. So again, it excites me to figure out how like the transportation from Earth to the moon can be something like riding a bus, like where if you have like a quarter, you can like do it. It's like that is the future that we need. It can't just be this thing that is just for the people that have all the wealth and all the access to the wealth. So that's what I guess excites me about space is it is like the future. It is like there's just like a lot that you need to like to make that trip to the moon to be like taking a bus ride down to the store. It's like there's a lot that you need to unlock technologically, geopolitically, energetically, you know, and that challenge is very I think is exciting, and I think it's possible for us to solve and resolve. If you think of like Star Trek as like a potential future, I'm like, yeah, that is a potential possible future. Why not? It's just like about coordination, cooperation, resource management, and getting access to the alien blueprints. Sorry. If you watch Contact, you know, like that movie. Just kidding.
Have I seen Contact? I don't think I have.
Oh, if you haven't seen it, it's such a good movie. You should
Big
watch.
fan of Stargate here.
You should watch Contact. It's really good.
All right. I'll check it out.
Contact, is that the one where the aliens come down and they like speak in like a somatic way and they have to figure out?
That's Arrival. Contact is very old. It's with Jodie Foster. I think it's from the 90s or early 2000s.
Okay. I'm writing this down.
Yeah.
Jodie Foster, I'm sold. Big fan.
It's such a good movie. It's like my like, oh yes, like this is what I hope outer space is like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, what other like space inspirations have you? I know there's David Bowie musically. We've got Contact, or are there some other like big ones that kind of
2001 A Space Odyssey.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dune. Yeah.
And they're making a new movie out of that.
Yeah.
Aren't
They
Yeah.
are.
It will never beat the one with Sting in it. But I'm excited to watch it as well. Big fan of Dune as well. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, whenever I was playing some board games whenever I was in college, and one of them was Risk 2210 AD. It's like the Risk where you've colonized space.
You're hitting it from like musically, media, games. It was
Basically, David Bowie. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, Brian Eno,
Mhm.
Spaceman 3, Sonic Boom. Let's see what else musically. Model 500, Juan Atkins, like the Detroit Techno, like Cybotron. The Detroit Techno is like a genre that's very much in the future and in space. Drexia. So yeah, a lot of Detroit Techno.
Cool. I have to look up Glam Rock, Detroit Techno, all of these genres.
Yeah,
We
I
need to
should
have-
make like a mixtape or something.
Ooh, yeah.
you
Drop
put out
a
the
drop a
Spotify playlist.
playlist. Yeah, I would love to.
Okay. I've actually made a playlist before called Living in Space. I can share that one. That doesn't have the Detroit Techno on it, but that was a playlist that we played at one of our space meetups once. And then it was like live streaming, and then YouTube like took it down because I guess it's like background music and shit. But
Yeah. No, that would be great. And then we can include it in the blog post and people can like listen to the playlist as they read.
Ooh, yeah. Theme music.
Yeah, here's
Create a full experience. Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, perfect. Cool.
Woohoo. Perfect. I'm actually driving across the country in 3 days. So this Living in Space playlist is going to be playing on repeat for
Awesome.
10 days for 2,000 miles.
That's
Rad.
awesome.
Well, we only have a few more minutes left, so Yale, I want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you've been kind of sitting on, if you have any. But my last one would just be kind of like what you see for the future for yourself, kind of what's next. I know there's some secrecy in there, but whatever you can share with us would be awesome.
Yeah, what is next? I would say one of the things that I do want to talk about more is basically like building an actual like community on Earth, and how you acquire land, you know, collectively, and how you decide to, you know, do good things with that land, and how we use, like, you know, blockchain technology and cryptocurrency to enhance our operations of this. So so that's like one of the main projects that's on the top of my mind lately, because it also relates to the SpaceDecentral project and starting to establish our headquarters for where we would start, you know, acquiring, you know, industrial grade 3D printers and like prototyping, lab equipment, that sort of thing. So that's the thing that that excites me the most, is feeling like the vision and mission of like SpaceDecentral, and how it connects to blockchain, cryptocurrency, how it connects to Earth, all of that feeling very, very possible and very much on the horizon. That's I don't know what else to say about it, but I guess if anyone's listening and that sounds interesting to you, like, you know, feel free to reach out, because that is what is coming in 2021.
Rad. Awesome. We'll make sure to blast that in the post as well.
Yeah. But yeah, what else? Yeah, like just operating as collectives more, and like designing the governance of that, and how we can have these models for like multiple projects and multiple organizations. I'm excited to finally start like prioritizing writing more, because it's something that I guess I have a lot of stuff in my head as far as like DAOs, cooperatives, how we work together, that I have to like start to like write it down more, like just based on just like the way that things have been shifting in the like DAO ecosystem, and also in general from just like learning about like cooperatives and how we can like pull those principles in more. So yeah, I'm excited just to like actually like learn a lot more about like different entities and in different jurisdictions, and see how we can make these more like systems that aren't just trying to be like completely like, oh, like let's just change everything, but like, okay, like let's find like a few different like whatever legal wrappers or something like that that work for specific use cases, and use blockchain technology to enhance and improve the operations, and then like allow things to evolve after that. So yeah, I'm excited for finally being able to just like take more like action for I guess like these experiments, or not even experiments, just like practicing bylaws like and following them and coming up with better ways to operate, or you know, more efficient ways to operate. Efficient because there are so many different projects that a lot of people want to do, so you want to like reduce your bureaucracy and your administrative things so you can leave as much time for like creativity and real like fun, pure work. And that's why I think like smart contracts and stuff are interesting, is because like it's about freeing up as much of our time to work on what we find most, like that we're most drawn to. But maybe like there are people that will emerge in these systems that just really are drawn to this operational coordination, cat herding thing, and that would be amazing, like.
I think that leads me to the last question I want to kind of pose to you is like, where do you think are the most like useful and exciting opportunities for folks who are looking to get involved in the Ethereum space, to looking to learn about DAOs? Maybe they're like pre-grad school, maybe they're like ready to like move into a more meaningful career, maybe they're looking at cooperatives. Like, where do people start? Where would you recommend people start?
I mean, I think everyone has maybe an idea, or if you have an idea for like a project that you want to do, just think of how you might use smart contracts to improve your operations if you think that it might. So that's always like one way to start. And the other way to start is now you have all of these projects that are using blockchain, smart contracts, tokenization to improve their operations. See which one of those has tasks that you are most aligned with working on, and just listen to yourself and what you want to work on, and just think that it's possible to collaborate and cooperate. Because I think that at the end of the day, people are going to learn that, oh, there are so many people that have actually the same idea as me, and maybe the way we change the world and we change business is we figure out ways to collaborate and cooperate on those shared ideas, instead of the traditional way of working, which that's fine. If you want to do the traditional way, then just create a regular business and go down that path. But I think the more exciting thing working in the Ethereum space is if you can really figure out ways to kind of meld into the collective more.
Thank you so much, Yalda, for spending an hour with us, sharing all of your wonderful stories. It's like, what a pleasure just to witness and kind of get a little window into your world that is really cool. And I've got like homework to do now with music and contact. And yeah, I'll be writing up a little post about the conversation we had today. We can absolutely send it to you before we publish it to make sure everything looks good, fact check. But yeah, just so much gratitude and appreciation for, not only you spending time with us, but also for the work that you're doing. It's really rad.
That sounds good. And yeah, thanks for the time and the nice questions, and to allow my mind to think more about why I am here and what I'm doing, and to be able to communicate that.
Totally.
Whenever I'm like thinking of what you're thinking, I'm always imagining like looking through a window at a Salvador Dali painting, like with many like things happening in there. I'm like, what is happening in there? Like, if only I could step into that world.
That's a very good imagination or something. I feel like the world would be more interesting if it was just like a Salvador Dali painting.
Yeah. So last call. Is there anywhere people can find you? Any way that they can connect with projects that you're working on? Would you like to shout that out? We'll include it in the post, but for here people like watching as well.
It's a good question.
Anything not stealth that you can share with the people?
Well, yeah, there's the SpaceDecentral keybase right now. So if you go to spacedecentral.net, if you click on like chat, that goes to our keybase, and that's maybe the best way to start to get involved on some things. So if you pass the test, you might get invited to the stealth stuff. Just kidding. I don't know. But it's just like a very temporary stealth period. So that's why it's like you might enter the SpaceDecentral community, and there might be like a little interview process or something like that. And then you can learn more about the inner workings of what we have planned.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So I want to take the test now.
Yeah.
On the stealth.
That's great. Yeah. Just follow the links.
Yeah. Yeah, best of luck setting up your home in Ibiza and enjoy the warm weather. And
Thank you.
yeah, thanks again for hanging out. Super appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Yalda. Great seeing you.
Yeah, you too.
We'll be in
Awesome.
touch when the article's drafted.
Sounds good. All right, take care.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.